Women make up over half of our population, but somehow we're still treated like a niche category in medicine. From delayed diagnosis to dismissed symptoms, today we're asking the question, is the system failing women, or was it never built for us in the first place? Welcome to Hump Day Hormones. I am Dr. Jill Jennings, a board-certified OBGYN and Menopause Society certified practitioner.
And I'm Courtney Spann, a nurse practitioner. We work at the Women's Clinic in Little Rock, Arkansas, on the campus of Baptist Health. We are here to talk about all things female hormone related, from puberty to menopause and everything in between. We are here to inform you from a medical point of view about the latest scientific evidence in the world of hormones.
You can find us on social media, Facebook and Instagram, as well as YouTube as Hump Day Hormones. And you can email us your questions or topics for the show at humpdayhormones@gmail.com. We just wanted to have a quick little disclaimer that everything we talk about here is for informational and supportive purposes only, and this is not medical advice, as we are not your provider. Your body is unique, and so be sure to chat with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your healthcare routine. Welcome back to Hump Day Hormones. This is season 2, episode 72. I feel like that kind of stings a little bit when you say that out loud, the little hook that all the podcasters are supposed to have. We're learning still, but I mean, that stings a lot. Like it, because once we go through this podcast, I think you'll realize like how true it is that it's just the system really wasn't ever built for women. And so we're sort of like have this male template of things. I mean, even the anatomical model in gross anatomy has a penis. Like when we describe normal anatomical things, it is off of the male body, but the entire situation is like built on a male model and then just sort of adapted to us. So, I think that we would like to believe we've like moved past those biases of like gender bias. And I mean, just like we'd like to think we've moved past racial bias. I know we had Dr. Jones on and talked about that. But there is still big inequity and different outcomes, and we still have a long way to go. And so this is bigger than like just hormones. I think that we kind of live in the hormone space, and it makes a lot of sense because of like we talked about last week. If y'all listened to last week's episode, like the whole FDA won't approve testosterone for women, although we've had male products since like the 1950s. Men use 10 times as much as we do, and it's safe, and just on and on and on. But this kind of flows right in with that, is like, it's about the entire system that we're navigating. So today, we brought in someone who sees this from a completely different angle. She's built a powerful online community of women who are speaking up and sharing experiences, and kind of calling out the gaps that we have in care. And so I think that it's situations just like this that are making things, more kind of brought to light and making us talk about it more with menopause and everything. So we are so excited today to welcome Claire Brown. She runs a local real estate agency and the Little Rock Power Women Facebook group. So if you live in the Little Rock area, I'm sure you know about the Power Women group. If you don't, you should go on Facebook and join. It's so awesome. It's a space where women share real, raw experiences. I mean, about everything, or you can just like ask, hey, does anybody have a plumber? Or you can,
where do you get your hair done?
Yeah. I mean, you can really get any kind of information, but, sometimes it turns into like, hey, I'm trying to find a new medical provider for this because of this, and this is how I was treated at the other places, and I need somebody who will actually listen. So welcome to the show, Claire.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes.
I feel like this has been such a long time coming.
I know. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for letting me be here. I appreciate it.
Yes. And I was on, I don't even think we had a podcast yet. And I was on your podcast.
Yeah.
Just talking about like, why is menopause having a moment? And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because it's a moment.
Yeah. We're still living in the moment.
Yeah.
So
it's a moment.
Yeah. And Claire, I don't think you would care. I mean, is our patient.
Yes.
And so, she kind of lives in our world some too.
I do.
Yeah.
You know all of my secrets. You know everything about me.
Yeah. She's seen me. She's seen Courtney. It takes a, she's seen Dr. Burton. I mean, it takes a whole village for Claire.
It does. It has for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yes. You've removed all my parts. You've added to them. And yeah, fabulous.
Yes. So just a little background. Claire was born and raised in Benton. We were just hearing this story about her family and, kind of longtime Benton girl, born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love this story. I mean, it's like kind of sad, but kind of now, I'm sure at the moment it wasn't like, this is awesome, but now it's awesome that you bought your first home when you were 19 years old and put yourself through school.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I love that. And so she has really, had to work hard to get where you are. And so I think it would be easy for just like everything. I mean, you look at you now and like you're successful, you're a real estate broker, you founded Move Realty, and you founded this Little Rock Power Women group that has over 33,000 people in it now. And then did you do the Northwest Arkansas one too?
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't even know how many people that has in it. But I mean, you're doing these big movement things and it would be easy to look and think like, wow, you just got it all together, and you probably always have. And I mean, you have had to claw and work really hard to get here.
Right. Nothing in my life has been built without a deep source of pain. So, and I can honestly say that. I didn't get into real estate because I necessarily wanted to. I had to get into it for survival and to pay for school, to pay for the home that I purchased. I had to buy a new car. Mine was taken from me. All my money was wiped from me. And so that was the only thing I could do at the time that I knew of without working a pole. I didn't have all of y'all in my life at that time. So I sold real estate, and it worked. I was good at it. Then when I graduated, I stuck with it. And it took me a long time, though, to recognize that I was selling more than a piece of dirt. I was really helping people during their most difficult times of life, during death, divorce, relocation, marriage, having babies. These are the reasons people move the most.
Yeah.
And it's a really stressful, difficult time of life. And so it took me a long time to find purpose in that. And when I did, that's when business kind of exploded. And now being able to help other agents do the same thing is a really big deal for me.
Yeah.
And in the start of Power Women also, it came from heartbreak. I did not seek to just create this massive movement. I really just needed help as a single mom. And that's where I found myself. And I didn't want a group text. And so I figured out a way to make a private Facebook group so I could turn notifications off and go there. And that was it. And scheduled a mom night out. And that kind of turned into a bad mom's moment. And their husbands had to carpool us home. And, and then they told everybody and their friends. And then before I knew it, it just went from the 6 of us to over 1,500 in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And so, everything that's happened has been out of a deep source of pain. And I'm, looking back on all that, I can say how much gratitude I have for that.
Yeah.
Because not only has that helped me heal, it's then impacted so many others and helped so many others in so many different ways that I've never experienced.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I write and I journal. And through all that, I continued to write and journal. And then that's what published the book. And then I saw all these incredible women joining, and I wanted to sell their homes.
Yeah.
And so I just reached out and said, hey, can I just interview you on Friday afternoon during lunch to share your journey for helping these other women? And nobody told me no.
Yeah.
And then that launched the podcast.
Well, let's talk about your book. I didn't know. I did not even know you had a book until today. So
Yeah.
let's talk about your book.
Yeah. So I became single when I was 34, and I'd never dated. I got married when I was 20, and I couldn't drink at my wedding like a good Southern girl. And I didn't know most of all, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted in life. I didn't have a clue of identity except wife and mother. And what I've learned is that does not define us. That is just what we do. And there's a massive difference. And so then I started writing of how did I get into the scenarios that I was in, and how and why was I attracting these people? What did I need to shift within me to stop that? And then I started having conversations with some of my former coaches who had become just mentors and friends at that point. And I had had a man that had asked me for a lot of money. And I went to Europe with him. And the night before we came home, he asked me for a lot of money. And that's what kind of triggered a lot of my intense writing. And I talked to a coach of mine, and she said, Claire, you've written a book and you have to publish this because it has to quit happening to us. And I went, us? Mm-hmm. This has happened to you too? And she said, yes. And then I started unraveling and asking that question to a lot of high-powered women and recognized that the pendulum had shifted with women making more money and being higher earners, that the gold digger persona of women asking men for money had shifted, and men were then asking women for money, which I then recognized that as women rise, they have to understand where their power is in many different ways. And a lot of that is in their money, which I address in the chapter Mommy Warbucks.
Yeah. And so we're power women. Yeah. I love that. So it just kind of came out of a need. Yeah. And obviously there was this deep need in the community because it just grew so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the most common feeling that you see in women that are on the power? I know you get to see all the back end, and
I know everybody's business in town. It's like people are like, "How are you still single?" And it's like, "How am I not?" I know who's had an affair with who. I know who's getting divorced. I know everybody's crazy ex-wife. I know everybody's business.
Well, and like I feel like everybody on there post anonymously too.
Right, but I see those people.
I'm always like, Claire knows.
I know. Which also lets you know how much of a vault I am.
Yeah.
Because I don't talk about it. I don't share who that is. Yeah.
I post anonymously on there if I'm like looking for a carpet cleaner. I just don't want everybody to know my carpet's dirty. You know, I just post anonymously, like in general. Like I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like everybody on there is a little bit nosy and we don't maybe need to know everything, but I'm always like, Claire knows.
I know. You response back really quick for, I mean, 30,000 other people on there.
I know. Like,
I know. 50. I mean, it happens really quick.
Yeah, immediate. And I love that. And I love getting to watch how these women continue to build up other women and help them just immediately and organically. That just, it fills my cup.
Do you think about though that you could like bury someone on, I mean, totally like, I mean, I think about that as a small business owner, like don't piss the power women off because I mean, that's the last thing we want.
Well, and it's happened. And they will come and crucify you at a moment's notice. And they've done it to me at times. But that is also what has to shift and has to change, you know, and then even in saying that, I've been told that I have toxic positivity. Well, you know, there's so much negative in our world that if this is the one space that is positive for people to come to, and if you want to consider that toxic, I'm really okay with that.
Yeah.
That's fine. If that's the label that I have, I'm good.
And I know that, you've been very vocal about like, this is a space to uplift one another, to help one another. We don't tear people down. And so that is pretty quick to get shut down. Yeah. But it is just hard when you have this massive, wide open 33,000 women community. It's like, whoa, we're all not going to think the same, you know?
And to be fair, that's not just about women. Anytime you have that many people together, when you're dealing with sensitive topics, emotions will be high. Opinions are that you can post anonymously will be rampant, and it's just the way it is. And so,
Do you have men try to sneak on there?
Oh, yeah. And it's fascinating. Yeah. And
I feel like there was, what was it, a few months ago, you went on live and you were like, this is for women.
get out. Well, what I really love is when I'll get a message with a screenshot from a member and it's like, hey, this is a man. I just want you to know. And I'm like, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Because they'll have a gender neutral name or whatever, and they'll get approved. We make mistakes, and so then we'll go back and research and remove them or whatever. But it's fascinating. And I love how the group will police itself. I know.
And it's funny that that guys want to get on there because they realize that, like, there's some good info on there. Right.
Well,
they need to be out.
Well, if you go back to my journal from 9 years ago when I was writing the concept of this and everything, I write in there and you can see it because I wrote by hand back then. I want it to be so good the men want to join and be a part of this. And I love that. And they do. And then when I was at an event this weekend and the gentleman learned that that's who I am or whatever I do. And he said, oh, my wife, she puts me in there all the time. She, comments for my services all the time. And I'm like, oh, great. And I'm sitting there thinking, wish she wouldn't do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. I feel like men, if you think about, I don't know, this is probably like biased or whatever, but if you think about what if there was like a power men group, I feel like they'd always be like, I don't know, I always ask my wife, or I don't know, go ask your wife. Well, I mean, I feel like they're not the ones maybe to figure out like who's the carpet cleaner.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I do have a vision for power men. Because there has to be that at some point. And that probably is going to lead into our conversations later, because power women will not be its highest and best without the support from power men.
Yes.
And power men will not be their highest and best without the support from power women.
We did this marriage retreat with our Sunday school class with our church. I go to Pulaski Heights United Methodist, and we had this lady come, and she's from the Baptist church. So it's a little bit different, Baptist and Methodist. And so she was talking about the men are the head of the household, and we were all kind of like, I think we're equal. I mean, that's like kind of the Methodist way, and like, he's not the boss of me kind of thing. And she was like, no, we have to think about it like they're the spiritual leaders of the household. They're the head of the household, but you are the neck, and you can turn them and make them, and I'm like, that's pretty true. Like, you're really in control of it as the neck, but just let them be the head of the household. And so, it's like, we're the neck.
I'm not going to comment on any of that.
Yeah. She's going to leave that one right there.
I sure
Okay. One more little feather in your cap is that, which you're going to have to explain to me what this is, a neuro-linguist. I'm probably not even saying it. Linguistic programming.
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
Yeah. So
what is that?
And people don't know that I've had a lot of training. So and they don't know this, that I've been recruited. I've been offered to sell power women.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Many times to different companies to put this into their infrastructure of their companies, because there's a large vision and there's a lot of power in this. And because of that, they've then recruited me, trained me in different ways. So I've just taken advantage of it.
Yeah.
So, I've been trained in real estate sales coaching. I've been trained in small business coaching. And then I started noticing a pattern with some of my most effective coaches in my world who all were certified in neuro-linguistic programming. And so I thought, well, then I'm just going to go get that training. And so I did. So I traveled the country and went and got training in neuro-linguistic programming. So if you think about it, which a while ago I honed in on some words, and then picked that apart a little bit, which is part of that. I pay attention to words and language patterns and see where they're tied back to. And so like our programming from anything, our childhood, events, just anything we interact with in the world, goes into our neurology, and then that shows up into our language
and our cortisol level.
Yes. Right. And so there are techniques that you can use to release those. And so you can release you can release that programming, you can release that trauma or whatever. So then you show it more effectively.
Yes.
So, right. So the first coach that I had that was trained in that, I increased my production 3 times in 1 year. It's powerful stuff. So, like MER, mental emotional release, I'm trained in mental emotional release techniques. So then, obviously used for myself, which I need, and then other people on my team, my children. It's incredible work.
Yeah. Well, and I think, we don't talk about that enough because we're talking about like the science behind it, but it really is so interesting. Like your brain, that sort of hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, like your brain is controlling what your adrenals and your hormone production is a direct brain control thing. And so your stress levels and stress response and how you, have been programmed to deal with stress in your life can really affect. It's like people don't understand, like, well, why would that matter for what my testes or my ovaries are producing? But it does. It does a lot.
Yeah. Like I've shared just snippets of things that I've been through, which have been extreme pain in my life. Well, that's a tough journey. And most people don't overcome those in a positive way and become productive. But I've only been able to do that by having this training and having others in my life that then allow me the opportunity to release this. Like EMDR is now very popular and things like that. Well, I've been doing this for years and things, and it's very similar to EMDR. It's not the same. Yes, it allows me to be more healthy, physically, but definitely emotionally, and to be able to help others.
Yeah. Y'all, she's powerful. This is so cool. So today, yes, we're just going to talk about inequity in women's healthcare. So I just want to, how we like a good did you know? I just want to go through some facts here because when you hear stuff like this, it's like undeniable that, we have some inequity in women's healthcare. So with autoimmune disease, women account for roughly 75% of all autoimmune diseases. One of those autoimmune diseases is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and women are 5 to 8 times more likely to experience thyroid issues such as Hashimoto's or Graves' disease.
Yeah. And then looking at like the bones, due to lower bone density, 80% of those with osteoporosis are women. So, we talk about all the time, like falling when you're 80 and breaking your hip. And the mortality around that. That is mainly women,
That's right.
And then, of course, GYN issues, endometriosis, fibroids, PCOS. That is a whole world of its own. That is so detrimental and can be have all the negative side effects with it.
That's right. And mental health. I just spoke at the Arkansas Psychiatric Association meeting, and we were talking about the crossover between depression and menopause. And so the connection between our mental health and our hormones, and the highest rate of women's suicide is when they're in their perimenopausal transition years. Like kind of that 45 to 55 is the highest risk time when women commit suicide. Depression is diagnosed about twice as often in women, alongside with higher rates of eating disorders and anxiety disorders. So all of that more common in women. And then chronic pain, I feel like sometimes kind of gets lumped in with psychiatric stuff, but chronic pain like chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia are more frequent in females, and about 80 to 90% of all patients with that diagnosis are female.
Migraines happen about 3 times more likely in women. Pain, kind of going back to that.
Yeah.
And then urinary tract infections are occurring up to 30 times more likely.
Shockingly. Yeah. We are anatomically a little bit there. Yes. But if we would just start using our estrogen, then maybe
get back to the 2 things that put women in nursing homes and that kill them:
chronic UTIs and getting symptomatic, and then breaking your hip because you've broken your hip.
I just look at this list and I'm like, hormones would help, hormones would help, hormones would help. I mean, all these things. And like, here's the next big one, Alzheimer's disease. Women are twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's. This is not because, and we know this like factually now, this is not because women live longer. It's not just because of that. It's because of changes that happen in our brain. Lisa Mosconi is doing groundbreaking work on like what happens to our brain when we lose estrogen. And so there's big things going on there. And then cardiovascular conditions, cardiovascular like heart attacks and things like that are mostly considered like something that happens to a man, but strokes kill more women than they do men. And heart disease symptoms are usually missed or delayed in women because they don't present exactly the same way. So I think it's very obvious that we are not just like tiny little versions of men with ovaries and boobs. And so, you know, the fact that we've been studied that way and treated that way in medicine, it is changing. It has to change, but it is changing. And I think groups like Power Women have created a space for women to finally share those experiences openly and kind of find, you know, the right avenue to get themselves help. So, you know, we can't just like say something and not have data to support it, because that's like my pet peeve is when people just spout off random opinions. But a 2025 survey of 900 women ages 25 to 34 found that 93% felt dismissed when seeking medical care, and that over 40% of those women had to seek multiple providers before finally ever receiving a diagnosis. And then that similar percentage, around that 40%, were prescribed medication before they even ever had a full evaluation of their symptoms. Like, hey, your hip is so off.
That was me. Oh my gosh. I mean, that was my experience. Yeah. And then, well, in every I don't know, diagnosis, everything you just listed. And then that also, I mean, that is, gosh, I mean, the content in the group is at least a third of all of that.
Yeah.
And then before I came to see you, I had seen two other providers who dismissed everything.
Yeah.
And had not done full panels. Because when I came to see Jill, she spent an hour with me and went over everything, and then learned that, well, my body was zapped of everything. Yeah. I mean, I had no vitamin D, no B12. My thyroid had just said, peace out.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, no wonder I had this cotton candy hair that was falling out. No wonder I was sleeping all the time. I was having to peel myself off the ground every day. Mm-hmm. And, you know, everything was falling apart. I finally have nails again. Like, I had no nails.
Yeah.
It was
awful. And I'm sure it's easy to say to you, like, you're a single mom, you have 2 kids, you're running Power Women, you're a real estate broker. I mean, you just got too much on your plate.
Yeah, and that was it. That was it. They were like, well, what do you do for a living? And how much stress do you have? And I just laughed. I'm like, oh, well, we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah, but it's like, but I'm not going to stop doing that.
No, I'm not. So my children aren't going away. I'm not going to stop having my career, because let me ask, who else is going to pay my bills? Are you signing up for that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on. So what are we going to do?
Right. I know. And that's what is so sad, is because most of these women are like, yeah, I can't quit my job. I can't not have my family. It's like all of these things have to keep happening, and I need to feel good.
Right.
Yeah. So I think, there's so much that we can do to get your hair and your nails and your energy and all the things back.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, suffice it to say, the literature is pretty clear. Women are more likely to have our symptoms minimized, attributed to stress or psychological causes, or interpreted differently than a man's symptoms. And maybe because, I don't know, is it just because we're more vocal about our feelings? Like, would we take a man more seriously if they came and sat in the office and said, I feel so stressed out. I'm not sleeping at night. I mean, the studies say yes, that they would be taken more seriously.
Well, the other thing is there's a libido issue also that goes hand in hand with this a lot of times, you know, and I see that in the group also of like, I'm too tired to even be intimate with my partner, or I no longer have a libido and this and that. And then even when those symptoms are present, women are not heard. And if a man comes and says, I'm too tired to have sex, I don't have a libido, things pop.
Yeah.
It'll move. The world will shake.
Here's your FDA approved testosterone that your insurance will cover.
Every time.
Here's your
Every day.
And
Yeah. Or if your hair's falling out, here's your Rogaine, here's your implants, here's anything you need, darling. How else can I help?
Yes.
And so it's like I've said to you both, like all it's going to take is for one man to pass a watermelon through his dick, and then the world's going to shift.
Right.
That's all it needs.
I know.
Just like the rest of us have to do every day.
Yeah.
I know. It's the truth. All it's going to take is just one watermelon. One watermelon. I mean, I've passed two. So, you know, and then because you think about it, I mean, like I have kidney stones. I went to the urologist last week. You know, they passed kidney stones too. And I mean, they have everything covered for that because it's equal whatever. But by God, if they had to pass a watermelon, everything else would shift. I guarantee it.
Yeah. I know. I bet you anything it was, I don't know this factually, but I bet you it was the man that invented lithotripsy to break up the stones. Yeah, because they would have just told women, like, it's fine. You deliver babies. You can deliver this tiny
That's
stone.
nothing compared to that watermelon you just passed, darling. It is. And you don't even need an epidural. You don't need drugs.
Yeah, you're fine.
I'm serious. Yeah, it's just like they don't give us drugs for having an IUD put in or pulled out. And what is that procedure? Because I've been through infertility, where they have to flush out your tubes and put the
HSG, the hysterosalpingogram. It hurts. I had one of those too.
Yeah. And you're like, just lay there and be still. Be still.
Well, yeah, because they're taking the x-ray while they're doing, so if you move, it'll mess up the x-ray. So you do, have to be still. And I took a Xanax before I had mine.
I didn't
because
know.
I knew that it was going to be so awful. But yeah, I mean, if you don't know, then it's like, okay, this is just going to feel a little crampy. And you're
Crampy.
Like, oh my gosh. It feels like,
Yeah. And so if men had to have iodine flushed through them and be still.
Fast deference.
And just be still. Take your picture. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it boggles my mind. And so what I know for sure is that when men choose to get loud enough to truly protect women, that's when things will shift and change. When they truly look at every woman as their daughter, their sister, their mother, whatever, then they choose to look at her and protect her, then that's when things will shift. But until then, they don't care enough.
Right. And that's what we're always saying. Like, we do have some male listeners. Which is great. Like, I mean, that is so awesome. Or like, I think it's so great when people's husbands come with them to hear about their hormones. Like, they care. Or I've had a woman come in and say, I'm only here. My husband just told me I had to come. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he reads all the time on the internet about menopause, and he said I needed to come. I'm like, that's amazing that you have somebody that loves you enough that they will spend their free time and read about menopause.
You know, they're that invested in you.
That's what's up.
I love whenever a husband comes, and they usually have questions that like the woman would never ask.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not all about sex, you know. Yeah. I just like bring another perspective. Thank you so much.
I mean, I have had some cringy ones.
Yeah, that does happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, sit over there.
I mean, like, I had one lady, and he was sitting over there just grinning, and she was like, yeah, he said he's going to trade me in for the younger model if you don't fix me. And I wanted to be like, yeah, I'm good.
10 years, she's going to be right here too, darling. We don't change.
I might get her feeling so good that she just decides she don't need your ass.
That's exactly That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Tight.
Yeah. I know. And okay, so we were talking about this at the Arkansas Psychiatric Association meeting too, that until 1986, like, I mean, in our lifetime, the term hysteria was used to mean, that came from the Greek word for uterus. And this was like considered a female psychological disorder, this hysteria. And that was part of it was in the DSM, like the diagnostic manual that they used to diagnose psychiatric disorders until 1986. Like, you just have this hysteria because you are a woman. And that's where the word hysterectomy came from. They thought we could, like, if we just remove the uterus, we will remove your hysteria.
Well, that didn't happen for me.
You will not be so crazy anymore.
Because I got mine taken out when I was 30. And now I'm still here.
I woke up from anesthesia. I'm back.
Yeah.
Well, though, I mean, 1986.
Like, it was an official medical diagnosis. Like, what's your diagnosis?
Like, she's just hysterical.
I don't know. It's just so crazy. Yeah. But again, like, we don't need to just say every single one of them, but 2023 study showed that women have longer wait times, less likely to receive pain medication, and have pain scores documented less often. There was a 2023 observational study that reviewed, I like this one because they reviewed 200 million medical records. Like, that's a massive amount of data. And they found that women consistently experienced longer wait times to diagnosis, even when they presented with the exact same symptoms as a man. So, like, that's what we were saying earlier. A woman and a man come in with the exact same symptoms. It still takes longer to get to the bottom of it with women and finally get the diagnosis because, you haven't taken it seriously the entire time.
Well, it's like, man, if they come into the ER with chest pain, I mean, they are going to jump on a cardiac workup where that's a female. I mean, they're going to be like,
do you have some anxiety?
Reflux. Like, it is going to take time. One of my best friends, she had a heart attack 9 years ago, same exact thing. I mean, she presented with very classic chest pain, cardiac symptoms, and she used to be a nurse, and she was telling them, like, no, I'm telling you right now, like, I need you to see what's going on with my heart. Like, there is something wrong. This is not anxiety. I mean, she really had to push them as discharged her from the hospital without doing anything.
I know. I mean, it's a staggering statistic that women under 55 have you're more likely to die if you have a heart attack and you're a woman under the age of 55 because no one's going to take you seriously and run you to the cath lab in time.
Right.
And so
it's mind blowing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess just
no wonder we're hysterical.
Yeah. This is why we are hysterical.
Hello.
And then it takes women an average of 7 to 10 years to ever get an endometriosis diagnosis.
Oh my God. Okay. So I had endometriosis.
Yeah.
And I, for years,
Yes.
was like, this is not right. I'm in so much pain. I'm having so much bleeding, all these things. And I went to a female physician. And she was just like, last resort is we have to do exploratory surgery. And I was like, okay, do it. I'm done.
Yes.
And so
shimmer in there.
Yeah. She finally did it. And she came out. She's like, I'm sorry. You've got stage 4. And I'm shocked. And I mean, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And, at that time it was like, if you're going to have kids, you've got to have them out. And then it became a journey to get there. I mean, it was like, you may or may not, and then the infertility journey started for both kids. So really blessed and lucky to have kids. I mean, got pregnant with my second while I was on birth control just to control my hemorrhaging. So like, God definitely meant for me to have him, but yeah. And I had to fight for that.
I know, and it really shouldn't be that way. And so, yeah, when I was reading about this, it's like, is it really just that we're training all these like bad doctors? I mean, I don't think so. I don't think like anybody sits us down in medical school and says like, okay, don't take the women seriously. They're a little hysterical and crazy. I mean, nobody says that, but I feel like in reality, that's what happens. It's just like this.
Yeah.
It's like nobody teaches you how to be racist either, but it's just like there is systemic racism. Like I think there is systemic gender bias.
It's a patriarchal system.
Yes.
And I did a podcast with one of the new transplant physicians, a heart transplant physician here at Baptist. And she has this whole concept and theory about how medical students are taught and how a matriarchal system really turns patient care and patient outcomes much more successful.
Yes.
But that's not being done and taught in medical schools.
Yes. Oh, there's like big data on that. Like if you're taken care of by a female physician, you have better outcomes.
Right. But then if you give the patient their autonomy and their choosing of care, the outcome is even better.
Yes.
And that is not patriarchal. It's matriarchal.
Yes.
It's more nurturing and everything else, but that's not what is being taught in medical schools.
I feel like the other problem there is that takes a lot of time. And like, I liked this, question was like, do we have a knowledge gap or a listening gap? And I think that's the problem is that, and that gets deep into like insurance and everything else is like, you're reimbursed on the 15-minute block basically. And so you got to get in there. It's like you have a meeting. You don't know what the meeting's about, but you have to solve the problem at the end of the meeting. So you have 15 minutes to go. I mean, it's like if you just said that to like a business executive, that would never fly. Like you have a meeting in 15 minutes. I can't tell you what it's about, but you need to solve the problem before you leave the room.
Right.
I mean,
so what you're telling me is all of you need neuro-linguistic programming training.
Yeah.
So you can identify language patterns really fast, go deep quick, and then diagnose it in 15 minutes.
I mean, yeah. Or we need insurance companies to let us, do
your job.
To let us do our job and not put time constraints on things and, or actually reimburse by time or, things like that. So, I mean, that gets really, really deep and is a whole, again, systemic problem.
Yep.
So, and I think, there lots of times women are going to have their story about maybe they've taken 7 years to get diagnosed. And so they're coming into you like, well, for the past 7 years, I've been to these 4 other, that takes a longer time to kind of get through all that. And so, I don't think it's that we don't know these things. I think probably most doctors listening are not shocked by the fact that we are more likely to have depression or migraines or those things. It's not a knowledge gap. It's just a training and listening gap.
Well, and I think on the patient side, we aren't aware that you're only being able to bill or get reimbursed for 15 minutes.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. I mean, it like, I guess goes against everything that we're trained as doctors to be like, okay, well, I only have 15 minutes go. I mean, that would seem so weird if you went into a patient's room and
it would seem so inconsiderate in our nursery.
Yes. I mean, it seemed like, well, never mind. I'll just go down the street and find somebody else.
Right. And then there's on the patient side, I see and hear the complaints of I've been waiting in the waiting room and I'm not going to wait anymore and da 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 da.
Yeah.
However,
but when you get in there, you want to be listened to.
That's exactly right. And so do you want the physician who's going to rush and only be on the time constraint of what they're reimbursed for? Or do you want the physician who's really going to listen, take their time despite what they're being paid to bill?
And you can, like, we have figured out a way that we can kind of do 30 minutes and bill it different. And, I mean, there are ways that you can try to bill by time, but then it's a charting nightmare of, well, let me put every single little sentence that the insurance company needs to see to justify that I really spent 30 minutes and half the time it was 45 in there talking to somebody. Yeah. I mean, it's just.
You have to talking about hormones. Like, that's not a 15 minutes.
No.
Yeah, no.
Well, in my case, mine was a whole lot more than just hormones. I mean, I had a vitamin deficiency, I had a thyroid deficiency, and then all of that was the stem of that. If you get to the root of that was perimenopause and hormones.
Yeah. I know. And you're not going to get to the root of the problem in 15 minutes. You're just not. And I mean, there's been a lot of pushback from that, just kind of throughout the system of like, I had to revamp my entire clinic schedule, which I mean, gets into like, okay, well, if you're seeing less, then your partners are seeing more. And I mean, so it's a lot, but I feel like we can't be a woman's clinic and not address all that.
Right.
I mean, we can't we can't just deliver babies.
This is all sounding so sexy, and I'm a single woman. You know, hear all this. I mean, this is going to be so great for the market.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about some historical biases in research. This is crazy. Like when I was writing this part, I was like spouting them off to my husband because it's so crazy that women were totally excluded from trials until the 1990s.
Oh, my word.
Yes, I was driving around in my Honda Accord listening to Nirvana, and they weren't even studying what was happening. Anyway,
It kills me that they're not asking us, but they're still having the expectations that are so high for us in so many different ways.
yes.
And so, but that also correlates when the economic shifts started to happen then. And so when women started to earn more money,
That's right.
gain positions, that's when they started listening and asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's when we finally, were powerful enough to be like, excuse me.
Yeah. When you're able to follow the money, that's when they start listening.
That's always what it is. So the data we use today is still partially male based. And just a historical breakdown, 1849, Elizabeth Blackwell became the first U.S. woman to earn a medical degree. But like the backstory there, this is long and it, probably would be boring, but she was admitted to med school almost as a joke. Like they kind of voted her in thinking that it was a prank. And so the late 1800s, women were largely excluded. They made like separate women's medical colleges, but they were often like underfunded and less represented and things like that. And then in 1910, there was something called the Flexner Report. It was an audit that it was set, to improve like standardizations in medical education. But what happened was like we may have created a little bit more standards and maybe get better trained physicians. But because of that, we squeeze out these little smaller schools, which was mostly like the women, So it was like we kind of got squeezed out again. And then the 1920s to the 1960s, women made up only about 5% of all physicians. And then in 1972, Title IX, which I think people have heard of, mostly like my husband knew all about Title IX because of sports. And so if schools receive federal funding, which is basically all medical schools, then they cannot discriminate based on sex. And so that, we think of it with like sports, like if you have the boys basketball team, you got to have the girls basketball team. That was like what the Title IX thing said. And so in the 1970s, and about 9% of medical students were women. And by the 80s, about 30%. And then today, 50+% of medical students and doctors are women. And I think OBGYN is becoming almost a fully like female dominated, specialty, which makes sense. So, and then in 1977, the FDA had a guideline that recommended excluding women and of childbearing age from clinical trials because they had this thalidomide, this drug that caused some birth defects. And so they were like, let's just not put women because like they have too many hormonal fluctuations. What if they're pregnant and they don't know it? And we put them in this study and then this thalidomide thing, like something bad happens to the baby. And so just don't study them. Just leave them little hysterical people alone and just don't put them in studies. And so it was really kind of like a lot of things that are done to women under the guise of like, we are going to protect you and we're going to remove you from research because we're going to protect you. But really it was like we were creating this massive like gap in like, you're not studying us. And so it wasn't until 1993 that the NIH Revitalization Act happened. And this law required the inclusion of women in NIH funded clinical research. 1993, literally, I was 13 years old. I mean, that's crazy. You would think that would have been something that happened in my great grandparents' generation. But yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, you got to think it wasn't until 74 that we were able to have our own credit card, bank account, be able to buy property, have a mortgage, anything like that.
Wow.
And so it doesn't surprise me that, I mean, we weren't included in studies for medical technology or an advancement, or our bodies were looked at. And just, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years later. That does not surprise me because we weren't given financial autonomy until, 20 years before. And so it took that long for us to make the money for then that, because money's always going to speak louder. It just is. And so then that started catching up, and then that's when we started being heard. It's going to continue.
It's just crazy to me. And I mean, like when I got out in private practice and was here at Baptist, there isn't this anymore, but there was a form and your husband had to sign it if you wanted your tubes tied. Like, I know you want your tubes tied, but is your husband okay with that?
Well, and the Arkansas legislature a few sessions back passed where a husband had to sign off on a woman's hysterectomy. Now, the courts have, dismissed that as unconstitutional at this point. But yeah, I mean, but by all means, we don't sign off on a vasectomy. I mean, it's the catch-22 is vastly different. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Now, I mean, I don't know if you know the projections of women and money. However, in the next 10 to 20 years, there are supposed to be more women millionaires than any other population in the country.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure. And so, but that to say, when the money starts to happen, there will be a shift and a change in every other place for women.
Yeah. Like education, research, studies, and all of that.
We may be able to get more Xanax when we have procedures.
That's right. That's right. And so, I mean, I think obviously we all understand that there's a problem. So like, what kind of advocacy and empowerment do we have? What do we do about it? The biggest thing, I mean, I think is education and community. So this is where, what Claire has and this Power Women is so awesome, because when women start comparing experiences, they realize like, wait, this is not just me. And then I think like, especially with this hormone, menopausal, perimenopausal movement, what we've seen is that usually when things change, it's from the top down, right? Like medical education, we figured out this and this and this, and we came out with this guideline and we say it's so, and then it trickles down and you teach it in medical school and you teach the doctors and the doctors know all the things and we tell our patients. But this is happening like in reverse of that. It's like women are empowered. They go, they talk to each other, they compare experiences. Wait, it's not just me. And then, oh, did you know this? And they may share the genitourinary guideline with each other. And then they carry it into their doctor and they say, my friend told me about this. Do you know about this? And then their doctor's like, what? And then maybe if they're like, really conscientious about like, I want to do what's best for my patient, they're going to go home and they're going to read about that and they're going to educate themselves. So it's this bottom up education that's being driven through social media and through women. And I think it's amazing.
And we're seeing that. I've seen it time and time again in the group. Yes. Women saying, I'm going to have an IUD or I want to have an IUD. Who are the providers that will give me, something for pain prior or during? Because it is such a painful procedure for many people. Or they're not going to get it because of the anxiety of the pain. And so who can I go to? And, they're being proactive. And it is, as you say, more of a grassroots effort. And, because frankly, a lot of the women that are high earners, they're not needing an IUD anymore. They're spayed like I am, And I mean, so, but they're empowering themselves through the education of community, and Power Women has done that for them. And so it is fascinating, and they are learning about so many different other types of birth control and how they can achieve that. Or, so many different other types of surgical options, hormonal options, and who and what they can do for themselves. To where, like when I was going through so many of those things, I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. And like when I lost a baby, options weren't given to me because I didn't have community. And I didn't know what I didn't know. And if I had a group like this, boy, I would have been empowered and hollered. You would have heard me all over the state. I mean, it would have been so different. And it is doing that.
Yeah. So have there been cases where women have finally gotten diagnosed because of something they learned in the group? They finally got to the right place. I mean, I'm sure.
100%. And they'll message me.
Yeah.
because and thank me.
Yeah.
And it's like,
awesome.
you know, it's not me. You know, that's not of me. That's you doing the hard work and you asking the right questions and you putting yourself out there. And but for many different things. But yes.
Yeah.
And then I can't speak to the numbers necessarily, but it is in the hundreds of how many have gotten out of abusive situations and how many have gotten therapies and different things like that. And there are 5 that I have physically myself helped get out of those scenarios and gotten them housing and gotten them in touch with safe places.
I mean, it's amazing. Like, people will post on there, you know, that they're needing somewhere to live for a week or, you know, and like, I don't know, all of a sudden 20 people are like, you can stay above my garage or you can, I mean, it's like, totally just this like matriarchal women, like all just helping each other.
It is. It's God's work. And I get the privilege of watching it and watching them every moment of every day. And it's incredible. It's an honor. It's a privilege. I don't take it lightly. It's amazing, but it's not of me. It's not me.
Yeah. But you know that I could like right now get on there and be like, my husband's abusive and I need to move out. And like 20 people would be in your driveway helping you carry shit out of your house. I mean,
they would in a heartbeat. Yeah. And that's what I didn't have. And that's why I started it. Not that I was in an abusive relationship or needed the help with doing that, but like I didn't have women in my life that I could turn to for help, for even carpool or a mom night out, or to say, is this right? You know, and or anything. And I needed that. And so that was the whole reason I reached out to 5 other women, just to have something that wasn't a group text.
Yeah.
And here it is. And it's in such a large space, you know, that what I really love is when women post about job opportunities and they're hiring each other before they're available to the public.
Yeah.
Or they're posting, here are my skills. Who has something for me?
Yeah.
And then they message me about that and say, I've gotten my dream job. I never thought this was possible. And man, that lights me up. I love that so much because I'm like, this one is now able, she's providing for her babies and giving them opportunities that they never had. And it is only because of all these other women. And I'm like so grateful she had the courage to just post that out there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's awesome. And that's how we found, I mean, we had a whole journey with social media and like, I mean, we really talk about grassroots. I mean, us building this podcast, was pretty, I mean, if you're an OG listener, you know that we like, you know, are on our like 8th set of microphones here and Courtney's is still propped up on a box every year. So, I mean, we are still learning, but I mean, we would literally get on. I mean, and I remember when we were having a hard time, we were like, okay, we're going to have to find a different person to run our social media stuff and who's going to help with all that. And I was like, it's fine. We'll just post on Power Women. And like by that afternoon, I had somebody. I mean,
I think we met with her like the next day.
I mean, it literally was like, oh, I know where to go do that.
Yeah. So I had someone text me and she's like, I need you to know that Power Women is now a verb. It's a verb. It's no longer just a noun. Because like, she's like, I needed a birthday cake. And I texted my friend like, oh my God, where can I go get that? She's like, you need to Power Women that shit. And so it is now a verb. And I'm like, oh my God, that is awesome.
That is so cool. Yeah. And so, I saw this question when I was preparing for this. Do you think we're affecting real change or just being loud? And I think that there's a lot of people out there that could be like, oh my gosh, Power Women, it's all these women just clucking hens about everything. But like we've just been describing, we are affecting real change here. We're getting people jobs. We're getting us like social media people over here. Yeah. We're getting, I mean, people diagnosed with medical conditions. I mean, real stuff is happening. It's not just, we are being loud. Yeah. But that's how you get stuff to happen. So I think
both is the answer. There's always going to be just noise.
Yes.
And there is real change. There are 2 women that started their own business and now they've scaled. And it's organic all through our group. and that's been their sole source of leads.
Yeah.
And then they were interviewed in Arkansas Business and told all about it.
Cool.
And it is so cool to watch their growth. And I've met with them several times, and I love them so much.
Yeah.
And they're referred all the time, and they've found a niche that's usually a man's world. And they are the only women in that space. And it's awesome.
I love
But
that.
now we're creating change, and, you know, inevitably, we're talking about women's issues, and a lot of those can get very political. And so what I really love, I don't say I love, but I find it funny, is women will get angry with me. And in the same day, the same week, I'll have one say, "You're so liberal." And then I'll have another one, "You are so conservative." And we're starting our own group. And now they have, which I think is fabulous, because that just means we're doing the right thing to help our group.
There's room for all.
That's right.
Yeah.
But they both blocked me.
So you can't be in the conservative or the liberal
I
group.
can't be anything. But that shows me I've done a great job of being Switzerland, because they really don't know who or what I am.
Yeah.
But all I am is serving women in every capacity.
Yeah.
And, like we've talked about, women can have very strong opinions, as they should.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to their programming and their experiences. And that's why they have it.
They're neuro-linguistic programming.
Their neuro-linguistic programming.
Man.
And I understand that. And space and grace is needed for everyone. And I really hope to always have that space where everybody can come and get what they need without the judgment of anything, whether it's political, whether it's medical, whether it's anything, so that whomever she is, feels that she can get the help she deserves.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness I've never had to have like somebody help me move out of my house or, any of this. I've just needed like carpet cleaners and social media people and,
Yeah.
basic stuff. But it has, for me, been like so useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so helpful. And I know that every time I get on Power Women, there is a question about, who do I go to for my hormones? Or will anybody sit there and listen to me about menopause? Or, all that kind of stuff. I mean, every day. And I'm like, hello, I'm here. But, I think it's really cool that women are talking about all that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they're taking their power back with their bodies in a big way.
And it's not like I do always scroll through the answers because I want to see what people are saying. And I'm glad that there's like a lot of people that are able to take care of these women. Like one person cannot do, it needs, like you're saying, there needs to be multiple groups. There's room for everybody.
That's right.
And so, yeah, I think if you're listening and you know that something feels off, get a second opinion. Power women that shit.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Track your symptoms. Find a provider who listens. Ask questions. And then, I think from a provider standpoint, if there's providers out there that are listening, I mean, listen to your patients. I feel like they'll tell you what you need to know or what they need help with. I mean, like the old saying from residency, he was an older gentleman who had retired from private practice, and he is amazing. And he would always say, if you listen to your patient, they'll tell you what's wrong with them. And then if you keep on listening, they'll tell you how to fix it. And so it really is true. So just listen longer as a provider, and then think outside of the algorithm that you were always taught in medical school, and consider hormones, lifestyle, and the whole patient. So it's not just always going to be a checky box. And I think anybody that's trying to get into like this space of women's healthcare has to know that. Like we have to think about there's a whole other side of it. So from your perspective, Claire, what do you think is the difference between like a good doctor visit and a great doctor visit?
Oh, well, as you both know, I typically have fun at the doctor's office.
Yes, it's always a good time.
I do. I have a good time. I mean, a good doctor visit is just, like you were saying, just come, I check the box and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
A great doctor visit is when I come and I feel seen and heard. But I think that's what we all want with everything. And a
For
great...
sure, that's what people say a good realtor is.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel seen, I feel heard, and I feel like it's thorough. I think that's a big difference, because when I came to you, there were things that you did that no one had ever done. I felt like it was so thorough. There was blood work that was done that had never been done. You asked questions no one had ever asked. You spent more time with me. I mean, there was just stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, and just like when I saw Brian for my hysterectomy, he gave me journals and articles, and he treated me like a brain that I had, like, oh, you think, how about that? Again, going back to the patient being able to make their own choices. And you gave me several different options. You're like, we can do it this way, we can do it this way, we can do it this way. Those make a great visit to where I am in control of my own health care. That's what makes it great.
And it is, I've said it a number of times. It was probably way easier to practice in like 1940, where it was like, I'm the doctor. Here's what's going on. Here's what we're going to do. Thank you. Have a nice day. Right. I mean, that was probably
our options. It's plan. Here's your one option.
That was probably a lot easier. And like, you didn't have to think about it as much. It was just, here and go. But obviously that didn't work very well. And probably women were not feeling heard and all the things. But yeah, it's going to take longer. You're going to have to use your big brain a lot more, but it's going to be worth it in the end.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that about Dr. Burton too. He's married to a powerful woman.
He's
probably just surrounded.
Yeah. He knows how it works.
Yeah, that's right. He knows about the neck. Moving the head. He knows all about it. So women's healthcare inequality isn't just being loud. We are trying to affect real change. And I think that will happen. And I think it's exactly what you said, Claire. Like, once we get the men on board with we have to do this. And obviously as we get more money, we'll kind of help move that neck, help move that head in the right direction. So sometimes it's going to look like getting dismissed, minimized, or told to wait it out. But we still have gaps, and we're going to get there. Where we are now is that we're included in research. We're at least looking at them. We're looking at the specimen that is the woman, and we're going to figure things out. More women physicians than ever before. So, we're here. We're going to go through menopause. We're going to have those same symptoms, and we're going to feel it. And so we're obviously going to care about those things a little bit more. And so we're having more conversations about it. But it is still true that we wait longer for a diagnosis, have symptoms dismissed. We're underrepresented. Hormone health is still undertaught, oversimplified, and often dismissed, unless it has to do with getting pregnant or being pregnant. So we're real good at that. But then you've had the babies, then what, And so I think we know have some real gaps. That's why we have this podcast. That's why we want to talk about it. That's why we bring powerful people like you on, so that we can just kind of continue this conversation. Because I feel like this is how we keep the ball rolling.
Yep. Yeah. Everything starts with a conversation. Yeah. Everything.
Yeah. I love it. Well, do you have any parting thoughts for us?
Well, Power Women, like you said, is more than just a Facebook group.
That's right.
It's a podcast. It's a book. It's a news segment every week. We also have an annual retreat, which we would love for everybody to come to, where we do some techniques with NLP. This year we're doing board breaking to break through your fears, which is really cool and fun.
When's your retreat?
September 18th through 20th this year.
Okay.
It's down in Hot Springs on the lake.
Fun.
Yeah, so all women that are anything and everything with the retreat is done by women locally. So catering, sunrise, sunset yoga, executive business coaches from across the country come in and lead it. It's it's a great time.
Yeah. And then you can find Claire. If you need a house, you can find Claire. She's a real estate agent with and broker at Move Realty.
Yep.
You can find her podcast at Power Women.
Yep. You can find everything at thepowerwomen.org.
Okay.
Or themoverealty.com.
Okay. There you go. So thank you for listening. Join us next week. We have another powerful woman. Her name is Krista Jackson. She is a nurse practitioner for Beyond Wellness here in town, and we're going to discuss
cortisol, chaos. And maybe we'll talk about some neuro-linguistic programming. I don't know. I've got to read more about that. But see, that's that grassroots thing. Now I want to know.
That honestly.
Yeah.
It's
really powerful stuff. That's great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
This was
you.
so fun. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all you do. Yes. Happy Hump Day.